Hey guys, Saf coming at you with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I have a champion guide for you on one of the new Void epics that got released as part of patch 6.0, and that is Skrank. I managed to get Skrank when I was after Yumeko, which obviously is not the champion that I wanted, but I thought, hey, let's turn a negative out of a positive and let's make some content around this new guy. So we have an Ogryn Void epic champion. Ogryn champions actually has I would say not many good AoE nukers if you don't have your Biggins and your Ignatius. Obviously Gergo is a good single target nuker, but actually just like clearing faction wars, you're looking at someone like Shatterbones. But otherwise, there's not a lot of AoE nukers. So it's good that we get another nuker in this faction. It does feel like it fits. And we have got someone who basically couldn't decide which weapon to bring to a fight. He's dual wielding like some sort of mixed match of swords. One of them looks like an elven blade. The other one looks like something you would use from like the pit of Mordor. Then he's got some daggers, which looks like he's coming from the Renaissance era. He's got a nice little satchel that's carried different things. And then on his back, he's got a giant crossbow. But he doesn't seem to have... It's not loaded, but then he's got some arrows. And how he's going to wield all these weapons, we don't really know. But there you go. He looks pretty cool, goblin-like looking, covering his eyes. Some pretty gnarly looking piercings there. So what does Skrank do? You can consider Skrank as like a mini baby ninja. I'm fairly baby ninja. He's not like Chronom baby ninja level, but he does kind of fit around what ninja does. We have an A1 single target attack, has a 40% chance of placing a weaken debuff. The chance increases to 75% if this target is under HP burn. 75% chance on an A1 when a burn is out there is pretty good. A2, sup on blood, bit gross if you ask me. He attacks 2 times on a single target, heals himself by 15% of the max HP of himself on each critical hit, so it's a 30% self-heal, and he will give himself an increased attack buff if he is attacking a HP burn target on a 3-turn cooldown, so he can sustain his own damage buff. Those types of champions are really good. Your Stultus Dragonbane, a new one, can do it himself, and I think Halsring can do it himself. Those types of champions means that you don't need to bring the increased attack to get the maximum value out of them. And then on the A3, Unleash Havoc, another 3-turn cooldown. He will attack all enemies, and he has a 100% chance of placing a HP burn for 2 turns. So if you don't have an Akoth yet from the Doom Tower, you don't have a Mordecai or a Cecilia or another AoE HP burner, he can do the HP burn job perfectly in Spider. He is also Void, so you will never weak hit on those champions. This is also a 3-turn cooldown, and he will fill his turn meter by 15% on each critical hit. This is kind of like what Chronom does. This is kind of like what Fulgur does. He self-fills. On Spider, that's going to basically give him a turn back instantly. Now, he obviously can't do what Chronom and Ninja does, which is activate those burns, but he will be able to get back around to one of his other abilities, his A2, back to his A3 quickly. In addition, he's got this quirky passive, and this is why I say he's like Baby Ninja. He increases his attack and crit damage by 5% every time a HP burn triggers, up to 25%. So you need to trigger the HP burn 5 times on an enemy. So in a clan boss, that's 5 clan boss turns if you've got HP burn up. Pretty easy to do it in Spider. Iragoth wouldn't take too long if you're burning all of them. That's kind of the situation you need with that. And then you get basically 25% more damage across the board. It's really strong. That basically converts his damage from sort of mid-tier up to an ethos level nuke if you can activate it. Now, getting this to activate in Arena is quite tricky because you generally can't keep those burns out there. There's lots of cleansing, immunities, and various different things. So I don't really think you can rely on this from an arena setting. It's actually the first build we're going to test. But from a PvE setting on bosses, I think this is going to be really good. So in this video, I'm going to give you a build for just pure damage, and we're going to test some different hits in different content. We're going to try an arena. Then I'm going to build him into my clan boss team. We're going to run and see what his damage numbers are in clan boss. And then finally, I'm going to sort of throw out some crazy builds that I think he could do, because I think he will work really nicely with Ninja. So let's look at the first build I've got for him here. It's Savage Cruel, all out damage. It's not my best Savage Cruel. I'm not re-gearing other champions to do this test, but it's pretty decent. We've got him at 6,475 attack, about 192% crit damage, 182 speed. It is good, but not insane gear. He is fully booked. He is not awakened yet, so obviously we don't get any stat bonuses there. And I've just got him in a basic sort of what I would call a clan boss mastery. He doesn't have Helm Smasher, which he probably should have if I was building him this way. But I am going into this already knowing that his damage is not great for arena, so I'm going to be rebuilding this afterwards. So I'm saving myself those masteries. We're going to take it into Dragon 20. We're going to do the Hellhades damage test. Now, I don't normally do this. I'm not as good. I don't have the bandana, maximum damage. I don't have a bad L. I don't have all of these other champions. But we're going to just test this with an attack aura, Lydia for the decreased defense and weaken. We have a Gurptuk out here, and we're going to see what we can do. The Baron is probably going to kill someone, just as a word of warning. I'm going to have to use his A2 or his A3, so he doesn't actually kill everyone with his A1, but we'll see how it goes. We're going to just drop the debuffs out here. Baron is just going to, like, probably kill this guy. There you go. Put the poisons out. So this is a pretty good damage test. He's getting a lot of boost from Gurptuk here, 22%. If I was being smart, I'd have done Opportunist as well and all these other things. But generally, how much damage can he do? You know, it's not great. 140,000, 150,000. It's not insane. Now, keeping in mind, this is not the highest damage build either. It's okay. And the other thing to obviously note is he obviously needs that passive activated, and none of these champions have taken a HP burn yet. On the A1, what are we going to do? 122,000. That's a solid hit for an A1. Let's just throw this again. Let's just check the A2, see what that can do. We're just going to hit this. Boom. Obviously, we don't have the A3 here from Gurptuk, so that's down 22%. But we can see what he does in the A2. We have got the A3 back already because I have Cycle of Revenge, but we're just going to hit this guy with the A2. So that's like 70 and 80. It's about 140, 150. So we're looking at 120, 140, and then a 140 AoE. It's good damage. It's not anything that I would be going, wow, this guy is insane at the moment for damage. So what about Arena then? How good is this build in Arena? Well, in a typical nuke team, I'm low goal 5 here. So these are the types of team you're going to find. You'd probably run this type of team where it's like a double boost into nuke or like a boost control into nuke. And the nice thing is he is void affinity, so he's never going to weak hit, so he's reliable in that sense. As long as you can build him with enough damage and you're fast enough, these types of I'm going to beat you by beating your turn meter teams are very easy to win. But the problem you'll have with it, that I have this, like, he's nothing that any other damage dealer wouldn't do. You know, I could build Gembo to do that and he would have already killed the Skull Crown. I can build multiple different champions. Fenax can AoE nuke to the same quality, and they would probably do the job. So he's not doing it like especially better than anyone else. But in these teams, it works really great. Like this team here, probably going to struggle because of the Rotus. So we would have to bring a solution to the Rotus, either a Romantu or something of that nature. These ones, he's not going first, so he's going to struggle. These types of teams, probably still okay, as long as I go first, because it's still a bog standard speed team. And my Arbiter is reasonably fast. Lissandra is going to drop their turn meter. And he's probably just going to one-shot them. Except for the non-decreased defense target there. You can see we're never really activating the passive. Now, if we wanted to try and activate the passive, we need to find a team that basically we have to like almost tank out, in another word. So we want to try and survive the hit, for a better word, so that we would ramp that up. But then you just end up in the position of, would it just be better to run a Candrathon, or would it be better to run a different champion? Would it be better to run a different team? Got a 5-star Constantine here. Again, this would be the same thing. Obviously, the Valk will mess up the turn meter, probably. I'll probably lose this because of the Valkyrie. You'd probably want to bring a Romantu here to drop that passive. I'm not even fast enough. So now we're basically in this game of, can we outmaneuver the turn meter? Probably not. And we will most likely lose this. Unless... oh, we got a turn. So he's good damage dealer. He's not terrible. This is why I said when I did the patch notes video, these epic champions are not useless. They may just not be as ideal as we would like. You know, they're good. You can use them. They're just not going to break the meta because they don't quite have enough damage. He just did that attack without any increased attack, and it was a pretty good hit. Now, obviously, he's going to die there. We're just going to finish this off. But again, we're not activating his passive. He's not doing anything unique here that would be different to any other strong AoE nuker. A Fushan, a Genbo, any of these types. Magnar would be just as good. Magnar probably even better because he can survive a hit. So that's him in Arena. What I want to do now is I'm going to rebuild him and put him into my clan boss team, and we're going to see how the passive affects his damage and scales him up, and whether or not that's actually an impactful and meaningful passive to use in the game. So I've rebuilt my Skrank now. He is now in Cruel and Crit Damage set. Basically, I don't need as much ignore defense because I'm fighting the clan boss, so I can reduce that for more raw stats. So we now have 5,892 attack and 270% crit damage. There is some possible area of improvements here. I could probably boost this up into a 16 if I had more silver. I don't have at the moment. Maybe I can get some more speed. I need to run at 213 speed minimum to fit into my clan boss team. The one thing you need to remember about this champion, he does a fill on that A3. He will do it once every 3 turns, so you need to account for that if you're putting him into any speed tune. So normally I'd be testing this on Ultra Nightmare. Unfortunately, the clan boss today has gone both to Spirit and Spirit. So I'll try again tomorrow and interject and put it like a different run here for some damage numbers. But we can use Brutal to kind of see how much the damage ramp ups anyway. So the team that I'm running here is my standard clan boss team. The slot that Skrank sits is basically a free slot. It can be any champion because Jintoro provides all of the debuffs I need, and the tune is built between Demitha, Eres, and Seeker. So in this team here, I can basically just set up some basic AI, but otherwise it's full auto. He doesn't do anything. The only thing I've noticed, he likes to do A2 as a priority. So I'm going to tell him to do A3 first because everything requires him to have HP burn up. Hopefully he should also be able to fill a rotation with his abilities to make sure he always has increased attack on him at all times. So let's run this out now and let's see some of the damage numbers. Obviously it's not Ultra Nightmare, so he's going to hit harder here than normally he would in the higher difficulties, but we can use it as a test. So there goes the smite debuff. The first hit there is about 117,000 on this clan boss. Now we need 5 turns from the clan boss here to ramp up his passive. So that's the first turn. So we should now have 5% more damage. 146,000 there per hit. So that's about a 300,000 hit on Brutal. And then we're just going to cycle through here. We're going to get some more abilities out. He's going to do his A1 at 150,000. So obviously I don't need his weaken here. The HP burn is powering his damage, but Jintoro is providing the weaken and decreased defense here. But it's nice to have a backup in case it 3%, or if we are in an affinity which is not good for Jintoro, you get that weaken in here. So now we should be at 10% boost because he's attacked twice. We're going to throw that out there again, and this should be now the 15%. So we've got 2 more rotations to go through before we start seeing sort of the big hit numbers here. So we just do those rotation again, 200,000. So that was 150,000 before. So we're already starting to see that impact happen. This is where he's almost like a baby ninja, not to the extent of Ninja at all, or Val the Destroyer, to be honest, but it's still good. 247,000 that time. Obviously, he didn't have increased attack the first time we used that at 117, so we're starting to see that really ramp up. And now, hopefully, one more turn. There's 170, 150. So one more turn now, and hopefully we should be fully ramped up. We can see kind of what damage he's going to do on this difficulty specifically. It's not an ideal test. I'd love to test this probably on Ultra Nightmare. I'll probably run this tomorrow when the clan boss changes over so we can actually get a screen. And if I do, I'll put it at the end here after the Brutal. My Jintoro is only 1-star Brimstone, but you can see he's still able to keep it up fairly reasonable. He's running at 3-1, so his uptime on that Brimstone is actually quite good. The only downside is obviously trying to make sure that there's enough debuff bar space, considering I also have double toxic here. So we're now fully ramped up. We should be able to see the maximum damage here, 229,000. Now, obviously, we are on Brutal, so that would be around about 180,000. But even then, for an epic champion, that's quite a lot of damage. 250,000. We did resist there. That was a bit unlucky. We also get the HP burn damage. It's not as good as a poison because obviously that would be 5%, 75,000. But it's still reasonable. You know, we're getting good additional damage out with an extra debuff there. So he's not just a pure damage dealing champion. We are getting some extra debuffs out of him. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to let this run through to the end of the Brutal run. We're going to see how much damage he does compared to other champions in this Brutal run, just so we can see the damage share. And then hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get a proper Ultra Nightmare screenshot put into the video at the end of this segment. And it is complete. So obviously, caveat, this is Brutal. It isn't necessarily the hardest he can hit. But let's just put it as a comparison here. We can see Jintoro's got 47 million damage with Brimstone. So Brimstone would be taking a proportion of that damage. And Skrank is coming through with 39 million, Seeker 25, Eres 22. Both of those two champions have Toxic, and Demitha on 8 8.9 million. So what we can see from here is Skrank is actually pumping out damage equal to Jintoro. It's pretty good damage numbers. And if you were running sort of a Myth Fu comp, obviously Fushan is providing your decreased defense. Skrank can be your damage dealer on that with that A1 weaken and fill that role perfectly. Obviously you'll need to adjust a little bit for affinity if you're running, I believe it would be Force. You need to just make sure you've got someone to take the stun instead of Seeker, but a great option for a DPS that can really pump out some numbers. So we did get lucky on the next reset. It is now magic affinity, so I was able to run an Ultra Nightmare test. I had to do a few tweaks with the speed tune a little bit here just to make it work with that extra turn meter boost. But we can see that Skrank is now running. It's turn 32. We're already hit a 1 key. He's fully powered up. Let's have a look at some of the abilities here. So that's 144,000 twice. So that's just under 300,000 on his A2. On his A3, I think will happen in the next rotation. A1, we're hitting for about 192,000 to 200,000. Pretty strong damage. So that's a 200,000 A1, about a 300,000 A2. And then we have one more attack here to do, which is the A3, which will come out next. And that is a 200,000 attack. So this is fully stacked up with this passive. I'm going to let this run through now, and we're going to have a look at an Ultra Nightmare result, as well as the brutal results we were looking at yesterday. And that is the run complete. We've got 120 million damage on this run. If I just hide my camera here, we can have a look. Jintoro did 38.8 million with Brimstone. Obviously, that is not 100% Brimstone, so it's not consistent, but he's still getting some bonus damage there. Skrank is not blessed at all, and he is getting 30 million damage. He is a viable option. If you were running this type of team with Myth Fu as your DPS option, he brings weaken that you don't have in the Myth Fu comp normally. Great option. You could run Toxic alongside it like I do instead of an Anax, for example. He can compete on that level. So that is a great clan boss damage champion. So what other uses do we have for Skrank? So what I think he's actually quite good for is using in conjunction with a ninja, for example. So with ninja, we know, if anyone's got ninja, they know the main ability here is this A2, where he can activate HP burn on a boss, but he also has decreased defense. So if you have a setup where you've got both Skrank and both ninja together, not only are you speeding up the progress to getting Skrank's passive empowered by using this A2, you can basically get 3 hits in one go. You also have the primary debuffs you need for any encounter, decreased defense and weaken. So that could be a good pairing in Clan Boss if you want to run those two together in an unkillable team. We could also look at some Doom Tower bosses here. So if I was to look at, say, Griffin as an example. Now, obviously, this is going to hit really hard. I would probably consider running Skrank in a slightly different build, a little bit tankier, a little bit less, gung-ho. But if we were to just run this and maybe just drop Lydia out here and let's run Skrank in her place. And we're going to run probably some healing here as well. Maybe a Black Knight or something just to keep our team alive. So we just run this team here. Obviously this is the highest difficulty. I'm just going to take it off auto a second. We got Cantra here on Brimstone as well, just because she's 5-star awakened. We're just going to kill this wave very quickly. Now obviously his passive won't extend across waves, so that's something to keep in mind, that you need to build it up on each wave you do. But we can just basically nuke here, drop some HP burn down, make sure we kill these waves. This team is built for killing the boss, not the waves. So this is just taking a bit longer than it should. I'm going to jump back at the boss. Okay, so we're at the boss here now. So we can basically see it. We don't really need any of the debuffers. Obviously, we can throw that out, get the Brimstone out, do some damage. But we can just go and start this HP burn. You see that passive has already started to fire. We can get the weaken out, build up some defensive buffs here, just so we can stay alive. Obviously, he's built very, very glass cannon, so I would change his build for this. This is the hardest level of Griffin. Get an extra turn for my defensively built ninja. We're fully stacked up here now. So you can see the damage output he's going to be able to provide alongside ninja. Ninja has basically boosted him up to full strength. He is dying a little bit, to be fair, but he is really terribly built. But what we should be able to do now is put a weaken out there. So long as he doesn't get feared. He may die. We don't know. There we go. Oh, he feared. He is going to die, but that's fine. We've got a revive here. As I said, he would be built more defensive. alongside like my ninja. Basically, you would build him kind of like a regen slash more focus on defense and HP and resistance, because effectively you can gain more stats from the passive, so you don't need as much. That's the same way I would build ninja a little bit in sort of an earlier game account if I had him, where I don't necessarily need as much attack and crit damage priority because I know I'm going to get a lot more. So I can build him with 3,000 to 4,000 defense for clan boss and still end up in a really high damage build because of his passive. Obviously, Ninja is really carrying this fight here. He'll be able to do this very easily. He is a bit of a monster when it comes to these scenarios. And I have got him built in high resistance, high defense, high HP. He's not built for damage. He's built to use his A2. And that's over. But together, they're pretty good combination. You get weaken, you get HP burn, you get his Ninja's HP burn and Ninja's decreased defense. You get everything you need to set up your teams. So that's another way I think you can use him. So overall, I don't normally do this, but I thought it'd be quite cool. Where would I rate him in the game? So I would rate this guy as 5 out of 5 for Spider, and I'd rate him as 5 out of 5 for Demon Lord. HP burn is just as good as Poison, to be honest, and he does hit really hard. Faction Wars, there is not that many AoE nukers outside of your legendaries in Ogryn tribes. So it's actually a very good addition to your team if you're struggling to just clear the waves quickly and having to rely on single target nukers. So I would rate him 5 there. Campaign, I wouldn't necessarily rate him 5. He's not a campaign farmer. He's all single target apart from that A3. So he gets a 3. Area offense, I would give him a 4 purely because I don't think he hits hard enough outside of other epics and he's harder to set up. Dragon's Lair, I'd give him a 4 just for the wave clearing potential. Iron Twins, he does do HP burn, which is great, but HP burn procs the passive. He will die pretty quickly, but you could probably ramp up his damage a bit more, so I'd give him a 4. Nothing really beats a Geo. Arena defense, I'd never run him on defense. Useless. Void Keep, he's good for all of those keeps. He's going to just kill the waves, right? There's nothing special about any of them. He's Void Affinity. Ice Golem, I wouldn't run him at all. I think that's terrible. Fire Knight, I would not run him either. He's not a multi-hitter, so that's not great either. And also, the Fire Knight doesn't take a turn. You don't want him to take a turn, so you can't ramp up that HP burn. Everyone kills Minnow. But for Hydra, HP burn, awesome. Builds his own damage, great. 5 out of 5. So I reckon he is a great champion, if you ask me. He is a pretty good balanced kit. He can hit really hard. This passive is really cool to play with. Will I use him in many of my teams? Probably not. It'll be fun to run in clan boss from bit by bit. He will definitely run in my Faction Wars team, and he will probably cut about 30 seconds to a minute off just by clearing the waves. There you go, guys. That is a champion guide on Skrank. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you more interested in this champion? Are you going to pull him out of the vault, or is he still useless to you in your eyes? I will be doing more champion guides in the near future. I've got one to do on Ziichi when it's coming soon. I think I've got a couple of other champions here I'm interested in doing. We've got one on Nagoria, the recent fusion. I'm going to do a damage test on him. I've just got Yakal, and we've also got Val. So plenty of different champions to test and try out. I've got some plans to try and test Val in Fire Knight if it will work. But with that said, please give our channel a subscribe if you are new here. I know many of the people that watch our videos are not actually subscribed, and it really does help us to continue to grow the channel. If you are an existing viewer and you have come back to watch another one of my videos, I really appreciate it. Please give this a thumbs up if you found this really entertaining, and I will catch you in the next video.